Justin Steele, man. The Athletic had this. I think ESPN Stats and Info had it. First Cub lefty since 1901 to go 8 or more scoreless with 12 or more strikeouts and 2 or less hits.
Oh, my God. I want to cry. Danny giving me the kind of baseball stat he derides. That's a great stat.
First Cub lefty since 1901 to do it, but the first Cub since 2015. Jake Arrieta in his no-hitter of the Dodgers hit those numbers.
First got to be that dominant.
To be two or fewer hits, 8 or more scoreless, and 12 or more strikeouts. So that's an all-time game. That's an all-time performance in Cubs history, certainly for a left-handed pitcher. And then you think he's going to win it. Last thing I'll say to just kind of tee up the conversation.
Sure. Well, because you've got him. You got him, what, 27-1?
I have him at 27-1. So it'd be a nice win for your boy. So I'd win $2,700 if Justin Steele.
When did you put that down, Killer?
I can pull it up for you.
Early on when he was.
So was I'll get that for you. But
okay.
So
Blake, he put it down when we were making fun of you for the wind floor.
Well, no, that's the thing. Like, if that was something that Danny did off to the side and didn't tell us, like, that's no good. That's baseball content that we could have had.
I agree. We've been doing it.
I haven't mentioned this.
We've been doing it.
I don't think so.
We've been doing it on Hey Better Better, which we're doing again tonight, by the way, on the old Marquee Sports app. You can watch us do that. Me, Danny, and Lance. He talks about it there, but I don't think he's talked about it here.
Really?
Yeah.
I apologize.
Didn't want to mush the lad? What's going on with that?
I don't know. Normally you guys know anything is content.
Owen came up from breakfast one day. He's like, you know what, Dad? I really think you should put a future down on the Justin Steele for Cy Young.
I think it was just it was early on, and he had the ERA numbers were so good. I got to just go into my open bets here.
I was a no on Justin Steele to win the Cy Young like
May 10th,
like 2 or 3 starts ago. I was a no, and I've now been converted to yes, and part of it is the narrative for the voters.
Did you just blow right by how impressive it was that when I
May 10th? I'm not focused on how impressive it was. I'm focused on being pissed that you've held that from us for so long.
Yes.
I mean, he hasn't been this close to winning it for a while. Like, there hasn't been a lot of value in that bet until the last couple of weeks.
And then that makes me focused on Spiegs, where he didn't really start thinking he was a favorite until he started being really good. Which is what he just said.
It's funny how that works, isn't it?
No.
I bet this on May 10th, $100 to win, 2,800 on Justin Steele. That's looking pretty good.
That's looking really, really good. I'm impressed. I've been thinking Spencer Strider most of the time. There was a while there where I was thinking Zach Gallen. And then obviously Blake Snell kind of broke through and has resumed some of the dominance he had in Tampa Bay.
Well, he's the favorite. He's minus 230 right now to win the whole thing, and Steele is 3-1 at plus 300.
Blake Snell is on a team that is a massive underachiever, and even though this is a best award and not a value-based award, I think that's going to matter a little bit. Blake Snell is 12-9 as compared to 16-3 for Steele, and I know that wins are not valued the way they used to be, but more on that in a minute. But Blake Snell also has walked 89 people. That's number 1 in the National League.
Yes, he leads the league. He leads the league in walks and wild pitches, but also in hits per 9 and ERA.
Yeah, so
Blake Snell.
That's how he ends up with. He has a great hits per 9 and a great ERA, but worst walks and worst wild pitches. He's 16th. Is Blake Snell in WHIP? Tied, so 16th at 1.25. So
Steele leads the league in wins, win percentage, ERA plus, and homers per 9.
Homers per 9, I think, is a very valuable stat in there. Also in F-WAR, he's 3rd among starting pitchers in F-WAR. 19 quality starts. Let's just stay on stats for a little while. You've been mentioning the 19 quality starts. That's second to Logan Webb, who he beat yesterday. That's 3 more than Strider. Now, Strider is the main guy that I've been thinking about because the dominance, I mean, he's got 245 strikeouts. That's incredible in this day and age. That's almost 50 more than anybody else in the National League. And he also has 16 wins. He's 16-4. And he has the best whip. Second best batting average against for Strider. He's the most dominant bat misser among starting pitchers in the National League. But look at his ERA. It's a full run worse.
Right.
He's 3.54, right? He's a full
Strider's third at 5-1.
He's a full run worse, and his own teammate Charlie Morton has a better ERA at 3.32. ERA matters a lot. I think it's still number one because it appeals to the old school and the stat crazed and everybody. ERA matters.
And Steele is 5/100ths of an ERA point worse than Snell. It's 2.5 for Snell, 2.55 for Steele.
So I think that having it more than a run over Strider is gonna matter, especially when you start thinking about the narrative, which we'll get to in a second. But just numbers that work against Steele: 13th best in batting average against, 14th most strikeouts, 14th most innings. So if he doesn't win, people will point to that and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the storyline of the Cubs as a national entity and making a playoff push makes a narrative mark. Him as a homegrown player within that. Him growing stronger as the year goes on in terms of an ace developing. And yesterday was a big deal in regards to all this narrative. I told you I watched Quick Pitch this morning. It's all over Quick Pitch. Here on MLB.com, here's the headline: Steele makes Cy Young statement with dominant start. This is everywhere.
I know, but I mean, listen, Strider's on the best team.
I know.
With the same number of wins, an awesome whip.
And a much better team.
Much better team.
Stroman going down, it is going to add to the narrative thought process of Steele becoming the ace and carrying the Cubs to a playoff spot. There's a lot of juice there from the personal and the narrative, and these are humans doing the vote. And beating the Giants, beating another playoff team with yesterday's statement is going to make a big, big deal. And one more thing on wins. And I asked my guy, Chris Kampka, who's the best, the Sultan of Stat from NBC Sports Chicago, how often is it that a guy wins, say, 18 games and loses 3 games or less and doesn't win the Cy Young? Okay? Because if Steele wins like 2 more games, and then he has some no decisions. If he's 18-3, with everything else that we're talking about, and I know it's wins which are valued less, and we can talk about it, but 18-3 is pretty daunting. So since 1956, when the awards started coming, 10 pitchers have won 18 or more games while losing 3 or less. And of those 10, 5 have won the Cy Young. So 5 have not, but 5 did. And
that's not overwhelming.
It's not overwhelming.
Especially, I mean, Strider is 16-4.
I know.
I know you said it's less impressive to win that many games on that good of a team, but the Cubs are also turning into a pretty good team.
Yep. I know, but I do think it still will matter. It still will matter because wins are fewer and harder to come by, so the win total is going to matter, and the fact that the Cubs are not the Atlanta juggernaut is going to work in Steele's favor, even though it's supposed to be best and not most valuable.
I am loving these text messages. Thank you, 847. Danny definitely talked about it on the show. I bet it, thanks to Danny. Different texter. I was going to say, I got plus 2,500 on May 12th. Parkins mentioned it, then he got injured, said he jinxed him. Different texter. Parkins announced his Steele bet May 11th. I put $50 down on it at the same time at 20-1 odds.
Wow.
Or 27-1 odds.
Look at that.
Influencing the people, winning money for the mob.
Great. All your burners are texting in. That's great. Anyway,
really nice. I'm wondering why you're so busy over there.
Yeah, so just looking ahead here. So it looks like just going through the matchups here, pitching matchups and the rotation where it all lines up. Should be Steele on the final day of the regular season at Milwaukee. Could that mean something, you think?
Really?
Maybe? Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, my God. That's
it's
crazy.
like that's weird, though. That's interesting because you don't want it to mean something. Like, you want the Cubs to be locked into their playoff spot ahead at that time so that you can skip him to line it up for a playoff series.
So let's hope his second to last start is wonderful, and then you can skip him.
Oh, that's against the Braves.
And that's against the Braves, right? Because they end Atlanta, Milwaukee. Because you really don't want Steele to have to make that start, and then you're talking about a bunch of rest for a playoff start. But if he needs one more statement for the Cy Young, obviously they would choose playoffs over that. But that could be a little bit of a conflict of interest.
If things end the way they are right now, the Cubs would be on the road for all 3 games of that wild card series against Philadelphia. Like, that's how it works. You don't get a home game. So you get 3 games in a row, 3 days in a row, at the higher seed.
Right.
So if that game does matter against Milwaukee, I mean, for the division, because there's no game 163 anymore.
Right.
So if the Cubs and the Brewers are tied.
What's the tiebreaker again? Division record?
No, record
Arm
against
wrestling.
each other.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I'm so glad.
Water balloon fight filled with urine.
They're so helpful.
Water would be just fine.
Jousting. Cockfighting.
Categories. It's the tiebreaker.
All right.
The teams come down and play categories.
Great American British Baking Show.
Head-to-head record.
Head-to-head record. All right, that makes a lot more sense than everything that they said.
And the Cubs and Brewers are tied right now.
Most alive grandparents.
It's alphabetical. Goes alphabetical. That's how they break the tie. Head-to-head record. And right now they're tied. So that last 3-game series could mean a lot.
Yeah, they're playing each other. Yeah.
Hey,
They actually used the waiver order. We still don't know that either.
Hey, come on. We got that eventually 2 days later. Nailed that.
All right, so you think narrative is going to push it in Steele's direction?
Steele, the story's getting better. He's getting stronger. Strider's been lit up a couple of times this month. Just gave up 4 runs to the Dodgers, and I think it was the one game that the Dodgers won of that series. No, it wasn't. But anyway, gave up 4 runs there. He gave up 6 runs to Pittsburgh earlier in the year. That ERA is big, and that team is better. I think Steele. As long as nothing terrible happens in the last 4 starts, I think Steele's going to win it.
Why do you think Snell is still such a heavy favorite then?
Because the ERA is better.
By 5/100ths of a point. The strikeouts are significantly better.
Because the market moves a little slower. Every once in a while, the narrative starts to overtake, and you can catch something.
Schedule? Do they look at schedule possibly?
I think I did this yesterday. Snell's next start is against Houston, for whatever that's worth.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thinking that.
So I'm just saying. If you think he's going to win it, 3-1 is still a really good price.
Yeah, it is, right?
You know what I mean? Like if you think he's the favorite and the market is off, and that he would beat Snell if the vote was today, then you should absolutely make a bet at 3-1. It's not 27-1, but that's a great bet.
To me, the market's off. The National Sharps, they might not realize that the last game, for any of the voters who are paying attention, the last game, when he went 6. After or I guess it was 2 games ago, when he went 6 after getting hit in the knee with the ball and still gutted his way through the 6 against Milwaukee, 6 shutout. I mean, that was incredible. So I think both of those have made a mark on voters.
Snell gets his next 2 starts in Houston, in LA. And maybe it doesn't matter as much because his team isn't in it, but if he has dominant performances against those lineups, I would think that would carry some weight.
Those are 2 of the best 3 offenses in baseball over the last 2 weeks.
So you could look at that in 2 different ways, right? It would be...
He could get lit up and his numbers could get affected.
Right, and his numbers get affected. Then Steele is right? Like if the Astros tee off on him, then by Friday night, Justin Steele is the odds-on favorite, and this is your last chance to bet him at plus money. But if he pitches well and shuts down the Astros and Dodgers, then he starts to get that bump of, oh man, this guy's dominant even against the good teams.
Yeah.
So whichever way you think it's going to go, if you want to get in now. But hey, man, it's always fun to root for right now, one of the cool things about where the Cubs are, there's a lot of scoreboard watching involved. You're watching the Brewers, but then you're also caring about the Giants and the Reds and the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. You know what I mean? There's a lot of the baseball scoreboard matters to you. But now you can add in this for Justin Steele, and now Blake Snell starts have relevance and Spencer Strider starts have relevance in addition to Justin Steele. So there's a lot going on for things that you care about as Cubs fans. Makes for a very exciting month when there's not football.
And when a team that was not expected to be competitive is competitive, and it's a big market team and a story like the Cubs are, I think you're going to see things go there as opposed to a big market Padres team and a guy who has won it before in the American League in Snell, as they are having a very underwhelming season. As a voter, that would impact the human side.
So Steele, his next outing is So yeah, the next time he takes the mound, like if Snell gets knocked around on Friday night in Houston, Steele could take the mound Saturday as the favorite. So his next start, he could be the favorite for the Cy Young if Houston gets the job done against Blake Snell. So yeah, just looking at it.
Yeah, we're going to let it play out.
Arizona.
Damn right.
So his next 2 starts should both come against the Diamondbacks.
Big games. Everyone's a big game. But, Milwaukee, then the Giants, and then 2 against the D-backs for Steele as you're pushing for a wild card. Those are all high profiles.
He should have 1 dud in there. I think he should start the last game of the Pittsburgh series. So 4 of his last 5 starts will be against playoff caliber teams, and then 1 game at home against the Pirates.